Good evening, everyone. Here we are. It is, of course, Fruit and News on, of course, today is, of course, Monday. Monday, of course, the 17th today, ladies and gentlemen, of course, August 2000 and, of course, 26. Heading very fastly towards September. Oh, the time is speeding up. So, 17 participants in tonight, which is absolutely amazing. So let's have just a quick look at who we've got here. Kath Miser's in, Graham's in, Looney Lena's in, Kemjin Tully's in, Jill's in, Glenn Pierce is in, Mike Carter's in, Sheila Douglas is in, Bill Gio's in, Pratik's in, Jackie's in, Gary's in, Diane's in, David Annan's in, Charlene Lamborghini's joining us, and of course Ann Taylor and Olivia. I'm sure there'll be plenty more joining us as well. So good evening, everyone. Hope we're all okay. Absolutely chaos out there. Absolute chaos. And I'm not talking about the landscaping. I'm talking about all of the other shite that's going off, of course, as you well know. So very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's have a look. I'll put the chat group up in a minute so I can have a look to see what you guys are yakking on about. First of all, I'm going to talk about, of course, Lady Gaga. Now, remember a few years ago, Lady Gaga turned up at the, I think it was the VMA Awards. Can you remember this? The VMA Awards? And this, of course, was 2010-ish, somewhere around there. I can't remember quite now, but anyway. It is, of course, now 2026, which is a while. Anyway, it appears as though that, remember that this was a dress. This was a dress made out of meat. Can you remember this one? Now, apparently, it wasn't beef. And it wasn't man meat, and it wasn't woman meat. It happened to be the other alternative. Yes, and it seems as though that Lady Gaga has basically told everybody that this was apparently an occult ritual. Very interesting. Now, I don't know, of course, you know, you're going to have to decide for yourself. I don't like to get into all this conspiracy theory stuff, as you well know. I'm straight down the line, you know what I'm saying? Now, universal credit, of course. This is quite an interesting one. This, of course, is the welfare state. Now, apparently, the welfare state is, of course, causing rather a lot of trouble in the UK for, of course, the politicians. And because, of course, the politicians and the councils and the government, of course, are fastly running out of money. Hence the reason why you see a massive increase in the number of new charities that, of course, are popping up around the place. You know what I mean? Especially with the Derby postcode, DE1. That's been around for about 75 years. DE1. Yes, very interesting. Anyway, now, apparently, obviously, they are, apparently, the figures don't add up because the figures keep changing all the time. And, of course, the majority of the politicians in, and this is, of course, particularly aimed at Reform today, which did a massive press conference, I think it was this morning, in regards to, of course, the welfare state. And they were claiming that they're going to do this and they're going to do that and they're going to do the other and they're going to overhaul this. And, oh, fucking hell, what an absolute crock of shite. It's an absolute it's mess. It's an absolute chaos. Now, the interesting part about this is that what I notice about this more than anything is that not one of the MPs, and if you can find one, then you let me know, not one of the MPs, of course, is actually asking the real question. And the real question that certainly I want to know is, where is all this money going? Where is all of this money going? Where is the council tax money going? Where is the fuel duty money going? Where is the driving license money going? Where is the chocolate tax money going? Where is because it's going somewhere and nobody seems to want to talk about it. Yeah, they'll talk about the welfare state and they'll talk about the they've only just started talking about the corruption in the bloody government, which we know has been there for years and years and years. And even then, they're quite shy about talking about it, to be fair. But that's what I want to know. And I think probably you would want to know that too. Where does all this money go? Now, we, of course, as we well know, we're talking offshore accounts, the Cayman Islands, the Isle of Man. We're talking about derivatives, bond buying. We're talking about all kinds of shit. Probably more than we know. But that's the question, okay? Now, when it comes to universal credit or the welfare state or whatever you want to call it, the amount of money that, and don't get me wrong, there are people that are taking the piss and there are people that are taking the Michael. And let me tell you, okay, I know because I ran a charity at the beginning of 2019, which I had to leave due to certain corruption taking place, and amongst other things. And anyway, that was quite an interesting time. I actually learnt a lot, not only about charities, but I also learnt a lot about the people that are basically relying on those charities. So I can tell you this, that the majority of people, okay, the majority of people that I particularly dealt with, were genuine people, genuine people who needed some help. A lot of them just needed some reassurance. A lot of them needed, and a lot of them needed a little bit of temporary help, okay? And so from that point of view, okay, we probably got around about 20% of people that were taking the piss. Now, don't get me wrong, not only did we know who they were, but we also knew the community knew who they were. Okay, so this is quite interesting. Because what used to happen is that the community would report to us when we were giving out food, when we were helping people out with clothing and all kinds of other stuff. The community would report to us who was actually taking the piss. And we kind of made a note of it. And basically what we did, we basically kept an eye on these people. And it was clearly evident that a large majority of them who were being pointed out were taking the piss. And there was the odd one or two that were all right and it got mixed up a bit. But apart from that, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting times. So, the welfare state, which of course has got overrun. It's got overrun by the amount of people coming into the country. It's got overrun by foreign nationals. It's got overrun by immigration, legal or illegal. It's just got overrun. And like most things, it's like the NHS. The NHS cannot cope with the amount of money, the amount of people that are now seeking medical help. However, the point about all this is that what most people need to remember, that structures like the NHS, the dentistry, the welfare state, of course, have had very, very little increase in spending over the last, 20 or 30 years. So, of course, they are in trouble. And the people, so as you well know, okay, the government haven't got any money. Now, the government have never had any money. The only money that the government have ever had is the money that, of course, the people have given them through various different taxes and charges and speeding fines and all. You know the drill. You know the drill. Okay. So the people basically are funding, okay, the sort of the corruption, the NHS, the police, the judges, the whatever you want to call them. They're funding through their taxes and their hard-earned work. They're funding the system that is basically telling them that, of course, the welfare state has got to be cut. But that system is not telling them, okay, that the amount of money that is the welfare state is really a very paltry amount of money. And it should be dawning on people in regards to the amounts of money. It should be dawning on people by now the amounts of money that are going out of our country to all kinds of money laundering enterprises, etc., in various different ways, etc. Unfortunately, it isn't. People are still locked into this idea that there isn't any money. And for, I don't know, somewhere in the region of, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 years, people have been told that there's no money. People have been told that they can't afford it. People have been told, okay, that, that there's no money in the pot. The water companies have said, well, I mean, we know where all their money's gone. All of the water companies' money, which were privatised, of course, back in the day, the water companies haven't invested in the water system since 1935, when they were first built. So places that are still managing to cope with the sewerage and the water and all that are really struggling because there's been no investment. Been no investment in the water. There's been no investment in the NHS. There's been no investment in schools. There's been no investment in councils. There's been no investment in absolutely every single thing that you can think of. And the reason that there's been no investment is not because it's a lack of money. No, the reason that there's been no investment is because all of that money, all of those profits have gone to a very small group of people. And amazingly enough, people still in our country have got no fucking idea, okay, the amount of money that gets laundered from the UK to all kinds of shite, okay? I mean, 13.5 billion, right? Listen, I mean, so I want you to think about this, right? 13.5 billion pounds of UK money goes to foreign aid. 13.5 billion. That's just foreign aid. That's without the USAID that Britain actually partakes in. You probably didn't know that. Now, massive amount of corruption in the USAID, which has basically been documented and, of course, flagged up and is now coming to court, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, we're talking about, we're talking about all kinds of corruption. I mean, going back to the water companies, did you know that 80% of the water that is produced by the water companies, i.e. filtered and looked after, is basically wasted through leaks? Did you know that? So there's no wonder that we've got no water, because, of course, all that water, all that filtered water that we made, right, 80% of it is technically going down the drain. Okay? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay? And let's think about it. £13.5 billion a year on foreign aid. But let's think about this. They couldn't find £2 billion to help the pensioners for the winter fuel payments. And the same is going to happen this year. The NHS just recently have been absolutely inundated with, apparently now there's so much trouble in the NHS because it's been too hot. It's been too hot, ladies and gentlemen, for the NHS. In a couple of months' time, it'll be too fucking cold and winter flu will be coming. Do you know what I mean? I mean, have you ever heard anything so ridiculous that the NHS gets overwhelmed by... it gets overwhelmed by hay fever. But that's exactly what happens in the winter months. The NHS gets overwhelmed by flu. By a common cold. A common cold, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So, yes, there is, yes, we can look at the benefit system. Okay? Yes, people are taking the piss. Yes, there's a lot of waste. Okay? But there are also other areas that not only should we be looking at, but we should be investigating too. And sadly, even the MPs that seem to be singing the right song, okay, even those MPs are not talking about what I'm particularly talking about and what you particularly want to get answered. So it's absolutely quite amazing that even the righteous MPs are not talking about it, which is, of course, well, it makes us think that all of the MPs are compromised. And the way things are going, not only in the UK and also in America, but it makes us think that every single one of them is compromised, whether or not they are Democrats or Republicans, whether or not they're conservative, liberals. It doesn't make any difference. You have to say, yeah, they're all compromised in some way, shape or form. And we're even talking about the big fuckers right at the top, okay? Especially in the UK. My God, it's just unbelievable. Now, a few years ago, you may remember that, of course, that Elon Musk wanted to get rid of hunger, world hunger, ladies and gentlemen. So I want you to think about this from a monetary point of view. Elon Musk asked the World Health Organization how much did they need in order to get rid of world hunger. World hunger, ladies and gentlemen, right? The World Health Organization turned around and said, we reckon that it should be about 6 billion. £6 billion should get rid of world hunger. This is a few years ago, but that's by the by. So $6 billion will get rid of world hunger. Okay, I want you to think about this because this is really important. Okay, so, and it's the figures that are important, right? 6 billion. 6 billion is really not a lot of money when you consider the amount of money that is being banded around. I mean, let's look at the HS2 project. The HS2 project, you know, London to Birmingham, started off 35 billion, went to 75 billion very quickly, 85 billion, 95 billion, 100 billion, 125 billion. It's now estimated, or it was estimated to going to be cost over 200 billion. And world hunger, 6 billion to get rid of world hunger, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, homelessness. I don't really know what the figures are to get rid of homelessness. But if we're talking about world hunger, okay, if we're talking about world hunger, 6 billion, then we've got to really seriously think, even if it's the same as 6 billion, it's still not a lot of money. Still not a lot of money. Can you remember when the government told us that they'd got no money? The government a few years ago, sort of apparently we'd just come out of austerity. Apparently things were looking up. We were all going to get a pint of beer down at the local pub. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit. And can you imagine they found 35 billion pounds to spend on track and trace. Track and trace never fucking worked. Track and trace never existed. I've got a friend in the computer business. He said that they could probably create a national track and trace system for somewhere in the region of about £1 million. Okay, this freaking NHS thing, 35 billion, right? Forget all the money that was spent on wages and furlough and forget all the money that was given out. Forget all that, right? Forget all that. Forget about the money that was wasted on PPE. Forget all that, right? Just the track and trace alone, 35 billion. And where did that money come from? Where did they get it from? Because all of a sudden, taxpayers were giving out 35 billion. All of a sudden, apparently we'd only just come out of austerity. Magic money, fucking magic money. I mean, you know, they get on about the magic money tree. They get on about the fact that the magic money tree doesn't exist. Well, clearly the magic money tree fucking does exist, because every time there's a problem, they go to the magic money tree. And of course, continuing, of course, to tell you and myself that they've got no money from the magic money tree. Absolutely. Here we go. I'm convinced that there seems to be two things here. We see Donald Trump. Now, is Saturday night. Top one. Swanky talk. They can. And willing to campaign lad. in this blonde hair aide has basically turned up. So Cockwomble Trump 2, yeah, very, very interesting. And then, of course, we've got Donald Trump, should we say, maybe the real Donald Trump, I don't know, and Pete Hegseth. They're talking about the fact that that Iran is now talking about using nuclear weapons upon, of course, it talks about, sorry, that's my train of thought here. I've lost the train of thought. So they are talking about nukes being used, okay, against Iran. Now, that's true. Trump and Pete Sif apparently were talking Iran considering using nuclear weapons upon us. Okay. Now, of course, the evidence in regards to Iran is completely outstanding. It is a toxic country run, of course, by the UK, Mossad, Israel. All you need to know. Okay. Iran has been controlling the flow of oil around the world. They've also been controlling the price of oil around the world, okay, in various different ways, shapes, or forms. And unfortunately now, it seems as though we've got a lot of different pipelines being built all around, which means that the Strait of Hormuz is going to become irrelevant in, of course, the flow of oil. So this is quite an interesting scenario. So at the moment, of course, we haven't seen the price of fuel at the pump come down. However, we are definitely sure that various pipelines are now pumping oil around the world. And the Strait of Hormuz is becoming very, very irrelevant, apart from, one or two tankers. And maybe Iran thought that they were going to control the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe. I don't know. And unfortunately haven't. Now, interestingly enough, China are now shipping many of their products from China, and they are going round the Arctic to miss out on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I didn't realise the sums of money involved in this, but apparently to go through the Strait of Hormuz can cost anywhere up to $1 million to go through. Now, I'm not sure about the Suez Canal and other places, but of course, as we well know, the Strait of Gibraltar, run by, of course, Spain, and of course, you've got all that problem there with Ceuta, the invasion of Morocco, the Suez Canal, of course. So it's very, very interesting what's actually going on around the world. And of course, the amazing part about it is that, the British government, of course, get on about the sanctions that they have introduced in regards to Russia. The amazing part about it is that they are still buying oil from Russia. So this, of course, once again, okay, once again, this is another example of the utter bullshit, that was going on. So very, very interesting that all of this stuff is going on. Okay. And, of course, you know, what we're talking about here is we're talking about that you know, a place like Iran, of course, is trying to destabilize the flow of shipping in regards to try and assert control. Now, you only tend to do that, of course, if, of course, you've lost your shit, which it appears that, you know, the Strait of Hormuz has been lost. So, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, we all know as well, of course, not only is Iran a proxy country run by Israel, Mossad, and the UK, City of London, hence Lloyd's of London, oil prices, shipping, insurance, etc. Remember, Lloyd's refused to insure the boats to ship through Strait of Hormuz. Remember that one. So then, of course, we have to remember in regards to Ukraine. Ukraine, of course, is a proxy country taken over by, of course, the Americans, in particular Barack Obama and Joe Biden. We know that because Hunter Biden was, of course, a CEO of a company called Burisma in the Ukraine. Hunter Biden knows absolutely fuck all about Burisma. Unfortunately, or fortunately for him, he was getting a rather large salary and a fucking shitload of money in regards to that. And apparently, Joey Biden was also getting a cut of the deals. So, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, that all this stuff is going on. So, it doesn't take all that much to work out. It can be confusing, but when you start joining the dots and you realise what's going on, you can actually see that there is a plan in place. However, it sometimes takes, of course, takes a lot of seeing because, of course, of the propaganda. And don't be under any illusion that there is propaganda and bullshit and lies knocking around. So very, very interesting. Now, if you want to measure Andy Burnham, okay, if you want to know anything about Andy Burnham, all you've got to do is take into consideration a few things. First of all, Andy Burnham, okay, has fucking big eyebrows. Now, that's always dodgy. That is always dodgy. Secondly, he has very dark-rimmed glasses. That's also the sign of a very dodgy man. Thirdly, Andy Burnham rejected 80 lawmakers that called for the Gaza genocide to stop. Yes, Andy Burnham called those lawmakers unlawful. Very interesting. He wouldn't actually back the Gaza genocide. Now, we all know that Israel is committing genocide not only in Gaza, Palestine, but also in, of course, Lebanon. And if you happen to raise this a few months ago, you would be struck off as being anti-Semitic. They still try to use that term, but unfortunately, most people have worked out what anti-Semitism actually means. So that's very interesting. Andy Burnham is also a member of the Fabian Society. If you do some research on the Fabian Society, and the Fabian Society have a mascot, which is basically a wolf. Now, a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure that my friend Jason will pull me up on this if I'm wrong, I seem to remember seeing somewhere that Donald Trump had said that he was after the wolves in sheep's clothing. Now, the Fabian Society mascot is, of course, a wolf. Not only that, members of the Fabian Society are also members of the medical fraternity. So, wolves in sheep's clothing. Now, that could be a particular reference to, of course, the white lab coats, of course, of doctors, nurses, clinicians, scientists, etc. Wolves in sheep's clothing. A very, very interesting thing. Let's also remember as well that the Fabian Society are also in the process of trying to walk the world into communism. Very interesting. Andy Burnham as well. I mean, there's lots on Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham as well also backed Tony Blair in the illegal war, weapons of mass destruction, Dr. Kelly dead, Tony Blair gets away with genocide, which led to, of course, led to Iraq, Afghanistan, etc., 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 on the back of weapons of mass destruction, which never existed. The killing of Saddam Hussein, which basically turned the country into an absolute fucking nightmare. If you remember, of course, as well, they did exactly the same to Colonel Gaddafi in regards to Libya, okay? And Libya was turned into a Burqa shithole, okay? Libya was a very, very conservative country. I've seen photos of Libya in the 1960s and 70s. Not a fucking burqa in sight. More miniskirts than in central fucking London. But no, turned into an Islamic state because, of course, Colonel Gaddafi was gotten rid of. If you do read the history of Colonel Gaddafi, you will realise that Colonel Gaddafi is exactly the same as a young colonel called Ibrahim Traore. Now, right at this moment, Ibrahim Traore is turning Burkina Faso into one of the richest African nations in the world. They're producing food, corn, wheat, absolutely everything. All of the soldiers are being trained up in farm management, etc., etc., etc. Massive amount of buildings going on. So, big up to Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. Amazing man. Nothing on the mainstream about that man at all. Absolutely nothing. Okay. So, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And of course, as we well know, Western society, Western leaders, of course, wanted to destabilize the Middle East. You know, it's what it's all about. Destabilization, money, gold, and robbing. It's no different now. It's no different now to what it was in the 1500s. Okay? It's no different. Exactly the same. People doing the same shit day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. Okay? Unfortunately, due to the internet and, of course, the mobile phone, okay, many, many people are now becoming enlightened. The veil is lifting. The information is enlightening people, making people see the corruption. The light is being shone upon everything in the darkness. So, yeah, Very interesting. Nobody's asleep any longer. I would say that probably a good 85% of people are awake. Now, there are, of course, levels of awakeness, as we well know. But, of course, people are waking up to the corruption. And people are waking up to the bullshit. And it's pretty evident. I use my gym that I go to in the morning as a barometer. There's a wide range of people in there, but I use the gym as a barometer as part of how awake people are. And let's not forget the younger ones, ladies and gentlemen. The younger ones are also very awake as well. Okay. And yeah, I would say the younger ones are probably more awake, particularly than a lot of the others, to be honest. Now, of course, they might not shout about it too much, but they are certainly aware of what's going on, not only around the world, but also in, of course, their own countries. And there will come. Somebody said to me the other day about when will it happen, Mark? Listen, all I can tell you is this: we are heading very, very fast to a point of no return. Now, it could be tomorrow, it could be the day after, it could be next week, it could be in another few months' time. I don't know, because I'm not in charge of that shit, right? So I don't know. But what I can tell you is that the way that things are going, the velocity that we are heading towards this precipice is becoming faster and faster and faster and faster. And every day, you know, Keir Starmer's been in. He made an absolute balls. Now we've got Andy Burnham in. I mean, Keir Starmer was in for what? Less than a year, was it? Less than 2 years? I can't remember now. But Andy Burnham's not going to be in even that long. I would be surprised if he even makes 4 months, 3 months. I would really be surprised. Anyway, I've told you all before. That the whole of the system is going to collapse. Okay? Everything. And so, you know, I think that probably if you're not thinking about that collapse and you're not considering that collapse, I think that probably you ought to consider that event, because it would appear to me that event is very fastly approaching. Anyway, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I will, of course, get myself off. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Obviously, we're trying the film. We're filming now on the phone, as you all know. I've got the computer here, so I can see who's talking and what's talking, and etc., etc. And so, you know, it's all very interesting. Some people said that the mobile phone footage is buffering a bit. I don't know whether it is or not. That could be the signal. The signal's not overly fantastic here. It could be that. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But of course, at least the picture is better, and the quality of the picture is better. And you can actually now see how ugly I am compared to my blurred image of a few days ago. So there you go. There's always a silver lining. And remember, nothing can stop what is coming. Nobody can stop it. It started 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years ago. Can't be stopped. Can't be stopped. No matter what they do, they can't stop it. It's coming. Okay, so take care, love you loads. We'll see you all again soon. Cheers, bye.